I'd like to start this review with a rant and then a calming down period. Nokia loves to market this, the Lumia 1020, as the best camera phone in the world with the best flash, the highest detail, the most accurate colours and so on. Yet it keeps conveniently failing to mention that it's not. Ultimately, if you want all of that, then the champion is still this, the 1020's predecessor, the Symbian running 808 PureView. I've taken hundreds of test photos now in all light conditions and scenarios, and the 808's images are almost always purer, clearer, and more accurate. Now, I hear you shouting at the screen you can't actually buy the 808 anymore, and it shouldn't be allowed as a comparison device, and you're right, it's very tough to find. And I hear others shouting that using Symbian for everything you need a smartphone to do in 2013 is like going to the dentist. And again, you're right. You have to be an uber geek with laser-like focus to get the 808 to a genuinely usable configuration in terms of apps and settings. So reluctantly, I'm going to set the 808 aside, apart from the black one shooting this show, which leaves the field basically wide open for this, the Lumia 1020, now available to buy across the world, to inherit the title of best camera phone in the world by default. In fact, if you argue that the phrase camera phone implies both still photos and video, I'd say that the Lumia 1020 might even win out overall anyway. The combination of a huge sensor, lossless in-video 6x zoom and optical image stabilization make the 1020 a stunningly good video capture device for real-world footage. In my view, the package here from an imaging point of view still stands apart from the Xperia Z1s and iPhone 5Ss of the world, the current imaging champions arguably from Android and iOS. But let's step back and consider the Lumia 1020 as an overall smartphone. It runs Windows Phone, but don't run away screaming, this is Windows Phone 8 GDR2, aka Nokia Amber. So many aspects of this are now very competitive, from smoother pseudo multitasking to better Skype integration to a fuller application bundle and third-party app ecosystem. So whether it's Netflix or Spotify or the IMDb, you're fully covered. Likewise, Instagram, YouTube and Google Music. No, wait, I'm lying. Each of those is accessible, but only via a third-party non-official client. And banking and convenience applications are far thinner on the ground than on Android and iOS. The situation is clearly a bit disappointing 3 years now after Windows Phone was launched, but it's possibly not a showstopper for most people. My biggest headache has been trying to find a decent secure database or password manager into which I can bring all my Symbian and Android secret stuff. But Windows Phone 8 is now very usable at least. It's fast, relatively stable and supports cool features like Nokia's always on glance and double tap to wake here. Plus there's all of Nokia's heavyweight mapping and discovery applications, so there's lots to like. So let's assume you've decided that you can live in the brave new world of Windows Phone. Why should you? Well, the Lumia 1020's hardware is absolutely top notch. The polycarbonate unibody is so solid, the metal camera island here on the back isn't that pronounced, and if anything adds to the premium feel. The screen's Nokia's usual 768p AMOLED, and with the superb clear black display polarizers, meaning that visibility outdoors is unparalleled. Important if you're out taking photos or videos and you want to see what's on the viewfinder. The stereo high amplitude microphones enable gig level recording, and the speaker's decent, though perhaps not quite iPhone or Lumia 920-ish in tonal quality. There we go, a bit of Eric. There we are. Not bad at all then, but it's the imaging functions here on the 1020 that will probably convince most would-be buyers to take the plunge. Nokia hasn't been able to fully replicate the custom hardware oversampling on the 808 here on Windows Phone, but it has made the very best of PureView's latest host platform by getting quite close in terms of photo quality using just a fast CPU and loads of RAM. This has 2 GB, the normal Windows phones have 1. And with the speed of software processing has enabled a whole new reframing feature, aka zoom later. Okay, this sacrifices a tiny bit of quality by working from an underlying always save 38 megapixel 15 megabyte JPEG file, but you really can zoom later or recompose the shot, or even, yes, zoom out again later, even if the original shot was zoomed in. The presence of a xenon flash here, something that's still far too rare in the phone world, should fill me with excitement. But the review hardware here was a little underwhelming once the subject was more than a metre or two away. Hopefully later retail units and software upgrades will improve results for people shots indoors and in low light. Generally, photo quality is very good though, all neatly sharpened and saturated in iPhone/Galaxy style, optimised for viewing on screen rather than for absolute purity for pixel peepers like me. Which is fair enough. Nokia's going after a wide market share here and not just camera phone enthusiasts. All of this is with the rather splendid Nokia Pro camera application seen here with manual control over focus, ISO and so on. Shot to shot time is quite slow at 4 seconds. We'll try it out. Let's focus, take the shot. 1, 2, 3, and we're back. But then there's a lot going on behind the scenes while the initial 5 megapixel shareable and full-res JPEGs are constructed. For a camera phone of this type and for the target market, I really don't think the speed is a showstopper. This Nokia Smart camera here too for burst mode and action shots, but don't get your hopes up for photo quality in burst mode unless you're outdoors in good light. Video capture is stunning. Pretty much ideal video capture conditions. There's a lot to listen to as well on the stereo microphones. And the jogger that just went by, a bit of wind noise, there are the boats and of course the water. Let's look at the pure view zoom on each of these devices, which should be roughly similar in performance, in each case going up to the 1:1 on the sensor, using the same finger up the screen gesture. Here I expect the OIS on the Lumia 1020 to make a significant difference at the stability of the image. The sun's just going in a tad. See what you think there. I'll zoom out. As usual with Nokia's top-end Lumias, the 1020 is a totally sealed design with no way to access the battery, boo, or to expand the storage memory, boo again. At least the latter is at least 32 gig or 64 gig on some network variants, given how relatively fiddly it is to sideload media from a desktop, even with a few gigabytes of games, and even with 20 megabytes of time possibly swallowed up by photos, I don't think this will be a showstopper. Battery life is decent, easily getting me through the day on its 2000 mAh cell, as long as I didn't go too crazy shooting photos and video. There's no Qi wireless charging, which is a major shame after falling in love with it on the Lumia 920, but you can at least buy a wireless charging back cover if that's critical for you. Also available is this grip. The idea is to make the 1020 feel more like a traditional camera, complete with the supersized shutter button here. And there's the nice touch that a 1000 mAh top-up battery is included for boosting your phone's charge whenever the grip is attached. The grip does work as advertised, but I found I preferred the feel of the phone au naturel. I didn't really want to lug around or keep charging and keep dismantling the extra bulk. If the grip had double the battery capacity, then I think I could be swung, but the accessory just falls short for me in its current incarnation. The Lumia flagships stick to a well-known Nokia trait, roughly competing models, all with a common base level of functionality, but with slightly different strengths. The 920 here is the one with the wireless charging, the 925 is the thin one with the metal frame, and the 1020 is the one with the really good camera. Can't I have all three in one? It's hard to find much fault though with the Lumia 1020. While it may not be quite the freak imaging powerhouse that the 808 was, for most people the 1020 will be their very first taste of Nokia's pure view expertise, and they'll love it. It knocks spots off the average iPhone or Galaxy device for photos and video. As ever, the biggest issue for most people will be having to commit to the Microsoft and Windows Phone ecosystems. GDR2 here does include CardDAV and CalDAV, so you can bring over your Google email and personal data, but there are still functionality holes for hardened Google and Android fans. Overall, though, another top-notch powerhouse from Nokia, possibly the last such before everything changes. Everything gets rebranded as a Microsoft, Surface, Lumia, whatever, next year. As with the 808, though, perhaps this is the Lumia to get. The one to treasure, the one to never sell. It is that special.